Hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
I'm going to ask you some questions. Since you're an experienced teacher, I want to know like what are your strategies for group control? Like what do you do when everything is messy?
Okay, well that's pretty easy when you're working at the Tec de Monterrey because we have very clear rules to control discipline. So when the group is not controlled, I would say that it's because of the teacher, because the rules are clear. So as long as you stick to rules, there's nothing else you need to do. Okay, so students, for example, are not allowed to use cell phones. They're not allowed to speak out of turn. So they're not allowed to eat in the classroom. So it's pretty easy. If you stick to those rules, you don't need to do anything else, okay? But so you just have to be very clear since the very beginning. You have to talk to students. You have to be very clear about rules and everything, what kind of punishments they're going to get in case they break the rules. But if you're very clear from the very beginning and if you just stick to those rules and to that plan every single day, there's nothing to worry about. At the end of the semester, everything is going to run smoothly. Why? Because you stick to rules. So I would say it's just that. You need to understand rules and you need to stick to that. And if a student breaks a rule, you have to act immediately. Like, hey, get out, or I'm going to do this. I'm going to talk to the program director. I'm going to I want to write a report. Okay, so you have to act immediately, and the rest of the group has to see that what you're saying is that you're following the rules. Okay, they need to see that what you're doing is exactly what you said you would do. Okay, that's what I basically say.
So there are no warnings, like for example if someone breaks a rule, there is no warning.
You can be that flexible, but you have to be very, very clear. Okay, for example, if you tell your students at the very beginning, okay, so no one is allowed to use the cell phone, okay, and then you see that a student is using a cell phone, you can say like, okay, first warning, all right, so I told you not to do it, so keep it in your bag, and if I see the cell phone one more time, you're out of the classroom, okay? So, and if the student uses the cell phone one more time, you have to get him out. You cannot say like, okay, well I'm going to do it the next time, okay? Next time you do it, blah, blah, blah. But you have to do it, okay? So if you say you are going to do it, you have to do it. So that's what I mean. Yeah, we can have warnings. You can be a little flexible. But in the end, you have to stick to what you're saying. Otherwise, you have no control. And the first week is going to be fine. The second is going to be worse. And it's going to continue like this until the class is going to be a nightmare. And the problem is that not only you cannot teach, okay, but the students also complain. The students just come and they look for me sometimes, and they come and tell me just like, oh, our teacher is not controlling the class, and blah, 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 blah. So students, you guys complain. You don't like to have a class out of control.
Yeah, that's right.
You guys complain. So, anyway.
Okay, and for example, what do you do with someone that doesn't want to be there, doesn't want to learn?
Like a demotivated student, for example?
Yeah, like a demotivated student.
Well, you have to be very careful with those students. Well, first of all, you have to get to know your students. You need to find strategies at the beginning of the semester to try to understand what kind of students you have, because everybody is different. And it's a big mistake from a teacher to think that every student is exactly as the teacher is, like the kind of learner that I am. It would be a big mistake to expect you to act as I act as a student, okay? So you need to understand like your students' needs. And once you understand that, once you understand what motivates them, it's easier. Now, it's important that you consider their learning styles, for example, and there are going to be some students who have a lot of fun and who learn a lot when they are actually doing things, and you have students on the other hand who need to see structures, for example, or who love reading, other students who love singing. So you need to actually take different kinds of activities and apply them into your class. So everybody is motivated at least for some minutes during the class, you know. And the others have to adapt, because in the end, that's life. There are things that you like, there are things that you don't like, but you have to keep on living, you know.
And with someone that has apathy, like, you know, he or she is there but doesn't care, and he's not demotivated, but he doesn't care about the English class, he doesn't like English, for example.
Well, what I do is that I approach this student. I mean, I talk to him or her. I'm just like, okay, what's the problem? And I'm seeing you like this. Okay, see you when I bring songs to class and you don't like them. Okay, I say, well, book exercises. Okay, well, we're going to watch a video. You don't like anything. So I talk to this student and I try to understand what's going on. Sometimes it's just like it has to do with family issues, for example, with external situations that there's nothing you can do about, but talk probably sometimes. But as a teacher, you have to be very careful, because there's like a line that you cannot cross, you know. So sometimes parents are getting divorced, for example, or there are problems with siblings, brothers, sisters, or this student just broke up with the girlfriend or the boyfriend, you know, or different issues. So I try to be friendly, and I talk to students and I'm like, okay, so what's going on? Is there anything I can do? What's the problem? Sometimes they tell you the truth, you know, like, oh, it's because I have problems at home and blah, blah, blah. And you just offer like a hand, like, okay, you want to talk? Would you like to meet with a psychologist? What would you like to do? Do you want to meet with the program director? Okay. Or sometimes it has to do with the problems that they had in the past with the subject. For example, like, I hate English. I was like, well, okay, but it's something you have to learn. Everybody has to learn English. Okay, everybody. It's just like office, you know. You need to know office. So you need to know English. And then you need to make them understand why English is useful. And that it's not a difficult language to learn. Because it's not difficult, honestly. So it's more difficult Spanish. Of course, since we're native speakers, for us it's like natural, right? But it's more difficult. So I try to find what's the problem, what the problem is with this student. And once I know, well, I act immediately, you know. But sometimes, as I say, when it comes to family issues, you cannot do many things about it, you know. It's just like, well, I can listen to you, and maybe as an adult you can say like, okay, don't worry about it, you know. It's there are things that you cannot, it's not things that are not in your hands, and that you just have to take it easy and relax, and you know, at least you talk to the student and make him or make her feel better.
Okay. And for example, what do you do with a bully?
Well, fortunately, I haven't seen anything like that, like a really, really bad student in my class towards me or towards another student. Maybe because they see me most of the times like a very strict person or a strict teacher, and maybe they behave in a different way when they're in front of me or when they're in my class. Because once they get to know me and they know that I'm not there to play, I can be like a nice person, a friendly teacher, but I'm very strict. So once they know that they're not, they can't be playing around with me. So maybe it's when they just like, you know, decide not to show the way they are. But I don't know. I mean, as I said, I would stick to rules. If I had someone like that in my class, or if I realized that someone is, you know, just like bugging another student or trying to bug me, no, I mean, I would stick to rules. I would never allow anything like that. And if a student came to talk to me, like saying, okay, don't you know, this student of yours is a bully and he's been doing this and this to me, I would definitely try to protect this student. I would take him to the program director's office and we'll try to talk and to, you know, meet with parents and with the bully's parents and to solve it out.
Okay. So you may say that the secret is like to be strict from the very beginning, so that they know that they don't have to mess with you.
Exactly. You have to be very clear. You know, I always tell my students from the very beginning, like, you guys, I mean, I'm very strict. I love smiling, really. You'll see a smile on my face most of the time. So I tell them, like, don't trust this smile. Not because you see that I'm smiling, you're going to think that I'm a barco. If you get 69, that's what you get. Okay? I'm not going to give you an extra point. And then if I say no cell phones, it's no cell phones, okay? If I say no computers, no computers. So, but you have to be very clear. And you have to find the balance, you know. I would say that to be a good teacher and to control the group very well, to have a good atmosphere in the class, you have to find the balance. You have to be friendly, but you have to be strict. I always tell my teachers here, be strict, but in a nice way. You know, not because you are trying to be strict, you are going to treat students in a wrong way. You know, like you're gonna yell at them, or you're just gonna make them feel bad all the time. Like, I'm the teacher, you know, so you guys are gonna do whatever I want. No, I mean, you guys are human beings. You have to be respected. You know, that's the first thing. Then you're paying a lot of money here, okay? So we have to provide a good service. But not only that, it's you have to know how to treat people. And then they're in your classroom because they want to learn, or they need to learn. So you have to be nice, but you have to be strict. Because if you, as I said, the balance. Because if you are very, very, very friendly, whew, they're going to take advantage of that, for sure. Okay? And if you are like strict, but not in a nice way, if you're like mean person, they're going to hate you. And you don't want that. You don't want that. And I tell also my students, like, guys, at the end of the semester, I don't want you to love me. Really. Because I'm not here to be a popular teacher, okay? I don't want you to love me. I just want you to realize at the end of the semester that I'm a good teacher. And you can say, oh, she was very strict, you know, she was super strict, but I learned a lot. That's what I want from you guys. And that's like the best prize that I can get.
Okay. So that's all. Thank you for your time.
Okay. You're welcome.